Belarus, a land most travelers never think about, yet one of the most surprising, untouched, and misunderstood countries in all of Europe. It is a nation wrapped in ancient forests, shaped by empires, and guarded by a quiet people whose history is far deeper than the world realizes. For decades, Belarus remained invisible to global tourism, overshadowed by Russia, forgotten by Europe, and misunderstood by the rest of the world. But behind this thick curtain of silence is a country that feels like a time capsule, a place where Soviet-era architecture blends with modern European life, where endless lakes stretch toward the horizon, and where the streets remain so clean and calm they almost feel surreal. Belarus is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is not a nation that tries to impress the world. Instead, it stands still, quietly preserving a culture built on resilience, faith, and remarkable unity. As we uncover the layers of this Eastern European nation, you'll discover a Belarus the world rarely talks about, a Belarus richer, more beautiful, and more complex than most people ever imagine. Before diving deep, let's first understand where this mysterious country actually sits on the map. Belarus lies at the crossroads of civilizations. Russia to the east, Poland to the west, Ukraine to the south, and the Baltic nations, Latvia and Lithuania to the north. It is Europe's quiet middle ground, Europe's silent neighbor, and Europe's most untouched landlocked country. No towering Alps, no Mediterranean beaches, no flashy skylines. Yet what Belarus does have is peace, greenery, order, safety, and a unique cultural charm found nowhere else on the continent. With a population of around 9 million, Belarus has the space, tranquility, and balance missing from many crowded European capitals. Here, forests stretch endlessly, lakes sparkle like mirrors, and small towns remain frozen in a simplicity that feels almost poetic. This country is cool, literally and figuratively. Its winters are fierce, its landscapes calm, and its people proud. As we begin this journey, understand one thing. Belarus is not just a country. Belarus is an experience. Belarus is a nation whose identity was shaped by centuries of conflict, resilience, and survival. A land caught between two powerful civilizations, the Russian Empire to the east and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth to the west. For hundreds of years, armies marched across its forests, cities were rebuilt and destroyed, and borders shifted constantly as Belarus passed through the hands of different empires. These repeated cycles of occupation and liberation created a unique cultural blend that remains visible today. Slavic traditions, Orthodox Christian roots, and subtle European influences woven together into a single national personality. By the time the 20th century began, Belarus had already experienced invasions, partitions, and cultural suppression. Then came World War I, when German forces swept across Eastern Europe and turned Belarusian villages, farms, and industries into ruins. After the war, when the German army withdrew, new chaos erupted as Poland advanced eastward and absorbed parts of western Belarus, dividing the Belarusian people between Polish rule and Soviet rule. Eventually, the eastern portion of the country was incorporated into the Soviet Union, marking the beginning of massive transformations as industries, schools, and urban infrastructure expanded under Moscow's centralized system. But the darkest period in Belarusian history arrived with World War II. The devastation was catastrophic. Nearly 1/4 of the population perished. Countless towns were erased from the map, and Minsk was almost completely destroyed. Belarus became a major battleground on the Eastern Front, with partisan fighters hiding in deep forests and launching resistance missions against occupying forces. When the war ended, Belarus rose from the ashes through one of the largest reconstruction efforts in European history. The Soviet era brought new factories, wide avenues, monumental architecture, and a reputation for engineering, manufacturing, and agricultural excellence. Minsk transformed into a clean, orderly, Soviet modern capital that still carries echoes of that era today. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Belarus, after centuries of divided rule, finally declared independence. But independence came with its own challenges, transitioning to a new economic system, defining a national identity, and balancing its deep cultural ties to Russia with the responsibilities of being a sovereign state. Today, Belarus remains a nation deeply shaped by everything it has endured. Its people value stability, order, and community because they have lived through wars, occupations, and constant change. The calm nature of its society, the cleanliness of its cities, the discipline of daily life, and the peaceful rhythm of the country all reflect generations who learned the importance of structure and unity. Belarus is not loud or attention-seeking. It is a country comfortable with its own quiet identity, European in geography, Slavic in spirit, linked to its Soviet past, yet standing as an independent nation, and forever defined by the strength, patience, and endurance of its people. Belarus today is shaped not only by its long history, but also by its unique geography, a landscape unlike any other in Europe, defined by vast forests, endless flat plains, gentle wetlands, and thousands of shimmering lakes that create one of the most peaceful natural environments on the continent. As a landlocked nation without a coastline, Belarus relies on its internal natural beauty rather than dramatic mountains or seas, offering a calm, quiet, and pristine terrain that feels almost untouched by time. Nearly 40% of the country is covered in dense forests, giving Belarus the nickname the lungs of Europe, and these forests stretch for miles, hiding lakes as clear as glass, small wooden villages, and wildlife that still roams freely far from urban development. The geography is overwhelmingly flat, which historically made the country vulnerable to invading armies. But today, it creates a smooth, open landscape filled with agricultural fields, rural settlements, and well-maintained roads that connect the nation with surprising efficiency. Marshlands and wetlands, especially in the south, near the Pripyat River, form one of Europe's most biodiverse regions, attracting nature lovers and photographers who are stunned by how untouched the environment remains. The country's climate, however, requires both resilience and adaptation. Belarus is known for its harsh winters, where temperatures can fall below 20 degrees Celsius, covering cities and forests in deep snow, and giving the country a cinematic, whitewashed appearance for several months. Summers, on the other hand, are mild, green, and refreshing, a season when lakes come alive, with swimmers and families enjoy picnics near riverbanks and open fields. Spring and autumn are the most visually beautiful seasons. Spring brings blooming forests and bright green landscapes that look like paintings, while autumn transforms the entire country into a golden canvas of falling leaves. This geography influences almost every part of Belarusian life. The people grow up surrounded by nature, developing a grounded, peaceful personality shaped by quiet surroundings and community-based living. The rural regions feel like stepping into the past. Life moves slowly, neighbors know each other, and families maintain small gardens, farms, or countryside homes called dachas, where they escape the noise of the city to relax, barbecue, or tend to vegetables. The pristine natural environment also contributes to the country's cleanliness. Belarusians take pride in keeping public spaces, parks, and neighborhoods spotless, and strict rules ensure that nature remains protected and respected. Lakes like Narach, Osveja, and Braslav are famous among locals and visitors for their crystal-clear waters, and the Braslav Lakes region in the north, dotted with dozens of lakes separated by rolling green hills, is considered one of the country's most beautiful natural treasures. Meanwhile, the Belovezhskaya Pushcha National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site shared with Poland, is home to Europe's oldest forests and the majestic European bison, one of the last remaining populations of this ancient animal. Urban areas blend surprisingly well with this natural backdrop. Even the capital, Minsk, despite its wide Soviet-era avenues and monumental buildings, is filled with parks, lakeside walkways, and green belts that make it feel lighter and more breathable than many crowded European capitals. The balance between nature and city life is one of Belarus's strongest qualities. Residents can spend their morning in a modern cafe in Minsk and their afternoon walking through a silent forest only a short drive away. In many countries, such peaceful landscapes are far from urban centers, but in Belarus, nature and civilization sit side by side, creating a lifestyle that feels stable, calm, and emotionally grounding. This unique geographical character shapes the nation's identity, a land that is simple yet beautiful, quiet yet rich, flat yet full of life, isolated yet deeply connected to the natural world. Belarus may not have dramatic mountains or beaches, but what it does have is something Europe is rapidly losing: untouched land, fresh air, clean forests, and a sense of natural purity that makes the entire country feel like a hidden sanctuary. Life in Belarus is a blend of old-world discipline, modern European calmness, and deep Slavic warmth, creating a lifestyle that feels structured, yet inviting, simple yet surprisingly rich, and rooted in traditions that have survived centuries of change. Daily life here moves at a steady, unrushed rhythm that reflects the temperament of its people: calm, respectful, and quietly proud. In the cities, especially Minsk, mornings begin with a sense of order. Streets are clean, public transport runs efficiently, and people move with purpose but without stress. Belarus is not a place of loud chaos or excessive hurry. It is a society built on stability, where routines are valued and predictability is appreciated. Residents often take pride in their punctuality, politeness, and seriousness toward work, traits inherited from the disciplined Soviet era and reinforced by a culture that believes in responsibility and community order. Yet beneath this structured exterior lies a population that is surprisingly warm once you get close to them. Belarusians may seem reserved at first glance, but they are friendly, hospitable, and deeply connected to their families and social circles. The communal lifestyle is strong. People visit relatives often, cook traditional meals together, and maintain friendships for decades. Even in modern apartments, many families still gather on weekends for large home-cooked meals filled with potatoes, soups, breads, and dairy dishes that reflect the agricultural heart of the country. Work culture in Belarus is practical and disciplined. Most people hold stable jobs in industries such as manufacturing, IT, agriculture, or public services. And despite modest salaries compared to Western Europe, Belarusians maintain a high level of personal dignity and pride in their occupations. The country's clean streets are not an accident. They are a reflection of a society that believes in collective responsibility. Littering is rare, rules are taken seriously, and even public parks feel almost sacred in their cleanliness. People respect the environment because they grow up surrounded by it. Recreational life in Belarus is also deeply tied to nature. After work, many residents enjoy long walks in parks, cycling, sitting by lakes, or spending time in outdoor cafes during the warmer months. The calm environment reduces stress, and even city life feels peaceful compared to many other capitals. Social life tends to be modest during the weekdays, but comes alive on weekends. Cafes, malls, restaurants, and lakeside areas become popular spots for young adults, while families often travel to their dachas, small countryside cottages where they garden, grill, relax, and escape the city. Belarusian nightlife is a unique contrast to the country's quiet days. While the streets are calm, the nightlife in Minsk can be surprisingly vibrant, with bars, lounges, and dance clubs filled with people enjoying music, socializing, and celebrating life. Belarusians enjoy entertainment, but always with a sense of self-control and respectful behavior. Crime rates are low, and safety is one of the country's signature strengths. Walking at night is generally safe, and families feel comfortable in public spaces without fear. Another defining feature of Belarusian life is the gender dynamic. Women make up a large percentage of the country's workforce and are respected for their intelligence, resilience, and elegance. Belarusian women carry a strong cultural reputation for beauty, confidence, and a warm personality, while Belarusian men, though more reserved, are known for their loyalty and strong sense of responsibility. Many men travel abroad to work in neighboring countries due to higher wages, which contributes to a noticeable difference in the number of women compared to men within Belarus itself. Education is also a cornerstone of Belarusian society. The country maintains a high literacy rate, strong academic systems, and widespread access to universities and technical institutes. Many young people speak multiple languages, especially English in urban areas. Internet culture is growing quickly, and the younger generation blends traditional Slavic values with modern European influences. Despite its simplicity, Belarus offers a peaceful, wholesome, and emotionally grounding lifestyle. Nature is close, communities are tight, and daily life is structured in a way that avoids unnecessary stress. In many ways, living in Belarus feels like living in a safe, clean, orderly bubble, separated from the noisy turbulence of the outside world. It is a place where people still greet neighbors, where children play freely outside, where families remain close, and where the best parts of traditional Slavic life are preserved with pride. Belarus may not be the wealthiest country, but it is one of the calmest, cleanest, and most stable societies in Europe, an underrated strength that defines everyday life here more than anything else. The economic landscape of Belarus is a unique blend of Soviet-era foundations, modern industries, agricultural strength, and slow but steady development that reflects the country's practical mindset and focus on stability over rapid change. The Belarusian ruble is the national currency, and while wages are modest by Western standards, the economy is structured in a way that prioritizes essential needs, accessibility, and predictable livelihoods for its citizens. Much of the country's economy still relies on state-owned industries that were inherited from the Soviet period factories that produce machinery, tractors, trucks, and heavy equipment that are exported to numerous countries around the world. Belarus is known for manufacturing reliability, especially in the agricultural and mechanical sectors, where products from Belarus are valued for their durability and fair cost. This practical economic strength has allowed the country to maintain a stable industrial base despite global shifts. Agriculture remains one of Belarus's strongest pillars. Thanks to fertile soils and vast open fields, the country is one of Europe's top producers of dairy products, potatoes, grains, and livestock. Belarusian dairy is famous across Europe for its purity and natural quality, benefiting from decades of strict agricultural standards. Potatoes hold a special place in the Belarusian economy and culture, with more than 300 traditional dishes based on this simple ingredient, reflecting the deep agricultural roots of the population. The agricultural sector provides jobs, supports rural communities, and contributes significantly to national food security, making Belarus one of the least likely countries in Europe to face food shortages in times of crisis. Beyond agriculture and heavy industry, Belarus has developed a growing IT sector that has become one of the country's most promising modern industries. The high-tech park in Minsk is known internationally as one of Eastern Europe's leading IT hubs, producing software solutions, mobile apps, and digital services used by clients around the world. Young programmers and tech professionals are increasingly driving this new economic era, blending global innovation with local talent. Although salaries in Belarus vary widely, the average income for many workers ranges between $450 and $700 per month after taxes. This may seem low, but Belarus maintains affordable living costs, especially outside central Minsk. Rent for a modest apartment begins around $400 per month in the capital, with utilities averaging around $50 depending on usage and season. Prices were significantly cheaper in the past, but recent global changes, including migration waves and regional instability, have increased demand and pushed housing costs upward. Even so, the cost of living in Belarus remains manageable compared to many European countries, and local markets, grocery stores, and small restaurants keep prices fairly reasonable for residents. Despite economic challenges, unemployment is relatively low, and most Belarusians work in stable, long-term positions. Many families supplement their income through small businesses, freelance work, or agricultural activities at their countryside homes. International workers and immigrants, especially from nearby countries dealing with conflict, arrive in Belarus, seeking safety and stability, which has contributed to shifts in housing and job markets in recent years. Another defining aspect of the Belarusian economic system is its focus on social services. Healthcare, education, and public transportation are affordable and widely accessible. Medical services are subsidized. Universities offer respectable programs at lower costs than Western institutions, and the transportation network is efficient and inexpensive, allowing residents to move easily within and between cities. Even though Belarus still enforces strict regulations in certain areas such as business licensing, public behavior, and foreign employment, the country maintains one of the most predictable business environments in Eastern Europe. Foreign investors often appreciate the low corruption levels in daily life, the disciplined workforce, and the clean, well-organized urban infrastructure. However, it is common for Belarusian men to migrate to Russia, Poland, or other European countries for higher-paying jobs, sending money back to support their families. This trend contributes to the noticeable demographic imbalance, where women make up a significant portion of the workforce within Belarus. Women in Belarus are highly active in almost every professional field, from healthcare and education to engineering, business, administration, and technology. Their presence is deeply rooted in the national economy, and their professionalism contributes significantly to the country's smooth functioning. Despite its calm appearance, the Belarusian economy is not without challenges. Limited access to international markets, political isolation, and sanctions from Western countries have pushed Belarus to strengthen economic ties with Russia, China, and other Asian nations. This shift has influenced trade patterns, foreign investments, and long-term development strategies. Yet, despite geopolitical pressure, Belarus continues to maintain stability in its domestic industries, agricultural production, and technological growth.